So I think it's safe to say that superhero movies have had a bit of a renaissance in recent years. In fact, since 2010, these movies have become some of the most successful of their years, if not of all time. So today I thought it could be fun to look at some of the really good films from the past 7 years and try to figure out which is the best. Alright, let's get into it. So the way I did this, I found the 16 highest rated superhero films of the 2010s on Rotten Tomatoes. Yes, I know Rotten Tomatoes can be weird sometimes, but for the purposes of this video, it works. I ranked them from highest to lowest, and then I pitted them against each other, by going number 1 against number 16, number 2 against number 15, number 3 against, you get the point. Also, I got out this giant piece of paper and wrote all this stuff down to make this slightly less confusing for both you and me. So let's see if that worked. First round, the highest versus the lowest, Logan versus Ant-Man. These are going to start off fairly easy and get progressively harder as we move along. I mean, I definitely enjoyed Ant-Man, especially all the parts that you can tell are somewhat still Edgar Wright's ideas. All that's great. But on the whole, it's just fun, and it's one of the more forgettable MCU films to me. Logan, on the other hand, was an awesome risk for a superhero film that paid off big time, giving James Mangold much more control to make something of a western study of damaged heroes past their prime, made for one of the most interesting superhero films I've ever seen. Mix that with an R rating, some incredible action scenes, phenomenal performances from Jackman, Stewart, and the whole cast, and some of the most genuinely emotional scenes I've seen in a movie in a while, and yeah, I think Logan's getting the win here. Next up, a 2017 battle for the ages that I'm probably going to get some hate for, Wonder Woman vs. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now I have some maybe slightly controversial opinions here. I don't really know, people on the internet can get mad at you for pretty much any reason, but really, I'd say I like these movies pretty much equally, which means I probably like Guardians 2 more than most people, and I probably like Wonder Woman less than most people. For the record, I've got reviews of both of these on my channel if you want to check those out. But really, I think Wonder Woman is a good movie with good performances and action and likable characters, and a story that actually makes sense, which is a big step up for the DCEU movies. And I also recognize how important it is for women in the movie industry. That's all great, but I don't love the movie. Early, I think the third act kind of falls apart and gets way too cliched, and kind of ends on a slightly anticlimactic note. Guardians 2, on the other hand, is a super fun romp, and is visually one of the most beautiful superhero movies ever. That also isn't perfect. I mean, despite some actual emotional character moments and good arcs, some of these emotional backstories seem maybe a tad forced, or maybe not forced, but just crammed in way too quickly. I think it's a very impressive movie, and I applaud James Gunn for the creativity he shows in a lot of this. Also, following up a beloved film is a super tough job, and I'd say this is a very good sequel to the first, but it just doesn't really stack up to that one. It's hilarious and fun and leaves you satisfied, but I just didn't leave the cinema with the same feeling of total joy I did leaving some of the other films we'll get to. But on the whole, which did I enjoy watching more, and which would I watch again first? I'm gonna have to go with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Sue me. Spider-Man Homecoming versus Deadpool is our next matchup. Let me tell ya, these do not get easier from here. Look, Spider-Man Homecoming is probably the most surprising superhero movie I've seen in a long time. Because even with something like Deadpool, which is a risk, based on the marketing and the team involved, I was pretty sure it was going to be good. But Homecoming, I had a feeling it was just going to be another good Marvel movie that I kind of just forget about and never really revisit again. Like Ant-Man. But watching this was so incredibly fun. I had such a blast from start to finish with Homecoming, from Spider-Man's day-to-day life, to his very relatable high school troubles, to the action sequences. Tom Holland is easily my favorite Spider-Man, and this might be my favorite Spider-Man film. It's certainly the funniest. No, it isn't perfect. The Vulture is a great villain, but there's a certain aspect of his character that I wasn't a huge fan of, and there's one kind of weird and very cliche Spider-Man scene that I didn't really like, but besides that, I totally loved this film. On the other side, Deadpool is also pretty fantastic, and seeing it for the first time on the big screen, with that truly amazing bridge action scene, and some great jokes, some blood shooting everywhere, that was awesome. However, I do have to say, as much as I enjoyed it on the first watch, the second and third, while still fun, have gotten less enjoyable. And to be fair, I've only seen Spider-Man once, but that origin story for Deadpool, it can drag a little bit on rewatches. Jokes and action, some of the best. But I think the same can kind of be said for Homecoming. And while I do appreciate how much Deadpool did for the superhero genre, and how many risks it took by having a graphic sex scene, and having a man getting his head cut off, and then having said head being used as a soccer ball in a Marvel Fox superhero film, overall, I think I enjoyed Homecoming more. So yeah, Spidey's moving on. The next round is the Avengers vs. X-Men First Class. I mean, if you know me at all, you pretty much know how this is gonna go. But let me just first say, I love X-Men First Class. Matthew Vaughn is definitely one of my favorite directors working today. I'm interested in whatever he makes, and I think First Class is probably his second best film. What makes it great is that it's not just a very fun superhero origin movie, which it is, but it also completely revitalized the X-Men franchise after two soul-crushing messes. It also has some of the strongest performances I'd say in any superhero film, and beneath all the awesome action, there's actually a lot of heart, and some surprisingly very emotional scenes, in particular between Charles and Eric. I enjoy watching it so much that I'm really quite sad it's getting knocked out in the first round. It's really great, and it's one of the best X-Men films, but it's not the Avengers. The Avengers is pretty much everything First Class is for me, and just a little bit more. I mean, seeing all these heroes come together was completely unprecedented, and it could have been such a huge anticlimax, and it ended up being anything but that. All these characters play off each other perfectly with that Joss Whedon writing, and the action and the villain and everything. We'll get more into the Avengers later on, I'm sure, but yeah, for now I'm gonna have to pick that. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy versus The Dark Knight Rises. I rewatched The Dark Knight Rises recently, and it is a lot better than I'd remembered. I know people love to make fun of it because of some stupid moments, and yes, I do concede that there is some stupid and kind of illogical stuff in here, but it seems to me like that happens with a lot of Nolan's films now. I wouldn't say they're perfect, but they're so full of layers and they're so beloved that now I feel like people really look for holes in the story, even if they aren't that major, just because Nolan is held to such a high standard. So I guess he should take that as a compliment. Regardless, the first time I saw Dark Knight Rises, I wasn't a huge fan, but watching it now, especially now that I'm older, it's fantastic. Action, performances, cinematography, and it has the epic feel to it that's lacking from a lot of superhero movies. But I would say it's the weakest of the trilogy. I didn't enjoy watching it as much as Batman Begins, and I didn't think it was as masterfully put together as The Dark Knight. Alternatively, Guardians of the Galaxy is super different tonally, and it takes that Marvel comedic style to the extreme. Jokes upon jokes upon jokes, and it does it perfectly. I still find a lot of these jokes hilarious, even after having watched the film a good 7 or so times. Plus, despite it being the funniest superhero movie I've ever seen, it still actually has scenes that make you kinda choke up, which I think is really impressive. Also, it made this scene work. Somehow. So I'm giving this to Guardians of the Galaxy. So now, we have maybe the toughest matchup of this whole thing for me. Two movies from 2014, X-Men Days of Future Past versus Captain America The Winter Soldier. I love both of these films, so much, almost exactly equally. I've been flip-flopping on this one for a while. I put out a poll on Twitter and everything. Days of Future Past, I believe, is the best X-Men film. And Winter Soldier, I believe, is the best Captain America film. They're both near-perfect examples of how to do a summer blockbuster. Ultimately, I think I'm gonna have to go with Winter Soldier, though. Days of Future Past has hilarious moments, good characters, one of the best superhero movie scenes, period. And it did a great job of melding the two X-Men worlds together and kind of passing the torch from an older cast to a new one. But Winter Soldier is such a spectacularly put together film. I've mentioned this before, but I think it's probably the best paced superhero film ever. There isn't a single kind of boring scene in this movie, or a long stretch with no action or something like that. It's so well made and entertaining, so I'm gonna have to go with that. Next up, another Captain America movie, Civil War versus one of the more unique superhero movies here, Big Hero 6. This one's a little easier for me. Big Hero 6 is a very fun Disney movie, one of the best of their modern films. And Baymax had a lot of potential to get annoying, but he remained adorable and hilarious all the way through. I'd say he's probably even better than Baby Groot. But Big Hero 6 is not Civil War. It doesn't have as much excitement, and for me at least, it's definitely not as memorable. So yeah, Captain America Civil War is moving on. Alright, Lego Batman vs. Doctor Strange. Look, this is a very odd pairing. I mean, these are two films that are pretty much aimed at different audiences. But hey, I enjoyed both pretty equally. Both are great, and both have a few flaws. I'd say they're kind of the reverse of each other in some ways. Where with Doctor Strange, I feel like the first act is the weakest part of the film, and then the entire third act is totally spectacular. The Lego Batman movie, I think the first 2/3 are hysterical, and then the final act is, yeah, pretty fun, but not as good. So, which wins here? Well, I am very tempted to give this to Doctor Strange, because on the whole, like the others, it's a lot of fun and has great performances, but mainly because that third act is one of my favorite third acts in a superhero film ever. Much like Civil War, it manages to do something different from the whole cities being destroyed by heroes fighting thing. In this one, the heroes are actually fighting in a city being destroyed in reverse, and or flipping onto walls and all kinds of crazy nonsense. The movie looks amazing too, by the way, and the whole thing with Dormammu was creative and unexpected, and I personally loved it. But that start does drag a bit for me. It's a kind of weirdly paced film, because it takes a while for everything to really get going, and once it does, it zooms through a lot of stuff that I wish we could have seen more of. Like his training. I really couldn't tell how long it took and at what point he learned what things. Lego Batman, on the other hand, while the third act isn't as good as the rest, it's still fun, and I just had so much fun throughout the whole thing. I was laughing almost every minute. As a Batman fan, all the little in-jokes and whatnot were hilarious, but the movie on the whole for anyone is also incredibly funny.
My name's Richard Grayson, but all the kids at the orphanage call me Dick.
Well, children can be cruel.
Plus, the animation's amazing. So with all that in mind, people might disagree, but I'm gonna say Lego Batman. Alright, now let's move on to the second round. First matchup here is a crazy one. Logan versus the Avengers. This is going to be kind of divisive for some people, and it's a super tough choice for me too. Trust me. It's kinda hard to compare these films, because they're so different. They're essentially polar opposites of the genre. On one hand, you have fun, fast-moving, action-packed, colorful popcorn blockbuster. And on the other hand, you have dark, thought-provoking, violent character study. I'd personally say they're both close to perfect for me. Yes, there are plot holes in both, but it's nothing movie-breaking. The way I think I can decide this is really which I will and have rewatched more times. And while Logan is phenomenal, it's a little harder to sit through multiple times, just because of how emotionally draining it is. I'm not saying that makes it necessarily worse than the Avengers. I guess it's just a matter of personal taste. This is hard, alright? I need to find something here. Yeah, I'm gonna give this to the Avengers. Sorry, Logan. Still love ya. Now we have another 2017 superhero movie matchup, Guardians 2 versus Spider-Man Homecoming. And you know what? I realized while making this video that this whole thing will kind of make my best superhero movie of 2017 video a bit redundant. So, whatever. I'll figure something out. I gotta make that sweet, sweet YouTube money, alright? As for this, yeah, I don't really want to repeat myself. You already really know how this is gonna go. Both super fun, but one stayed with me a lot more than the other, and I overall left one just more satisfied than the other. Maybe that's based on my somewhat different expectations for each going in. I don't know. Regardless, I'm giving this one to Homecoming. Alright, now a little bit of a harder one. Guardians of the Galaxy versus Captain America Civil War. Look, Civil War has been kind of a weird movie for me. When I first saw it, I was like, hey, that was pretty awesome, but I didn't really love it. I don't know, I remember leaving the cinema with kind of an empty feeling, and I feel like that was because I wasn't at all prepared for the Zemo story, which took up a surprising amount of the film. The more times I've watched it though, I've really started to love it. I think it has potentially the best Marvel action ever. That airport fight scene is insane, and the ending is more low-key than the airport battle, but I'd say it's almost as good. And it has real stakes to it, unlike the final battles in a lot of these films. Guardians though, I loved it when I first saw it, and I love it to this day. There's a feeling that I have when I leave the cinema sometimes, and I'm sure I can't be the only one with this, where sometimes it's a really fun movie, like Civil War, and I leave happy, but not ecstatic or anything. I just kind of move along with my day. And then there's another feeling, like when I left Baby Driver, or Get Out, or in this case, Guardians of the Galaxy, where I'm just so hyped up because of how much I loved the past 2 hours, and I don't shut up about how good it was to my friends for the next few days, and it's just the best. And yeah, that's why I think I'm gonna have to go with Guardians here. Alright, Lego Batman vs. Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier. Yeah, sorry. Lego Batman's a very enjoyable kids film, but Winter Soldier is on another level of awesome. I've talked about it a lot already, and I'm about to talk about it more, so let's just leave it at that. Winter Soldier, moving on. Okay, we're all the way down to the third round now, with the battle of the MCU team-ups, Avengers versus Guardians. Part of me wants to give this to Guardians, because when I first saw it, I was super impressed by the fact that James Gunn managed to make characters who were not only kind of unknown in the comics, but entirely unknown cinematically, and make them as popular and likable as the Avengers, where almost each character had already had a film to set up what they're all about. That's amazing, and I also think James Gunn deserves a lot of credit for setting up the cosmic side of the MCU. As far as the Avengers though, the thing is, I literally can't think of anything I don't like in it. And that's entirely subjective, I know, and it may very well be biased. But this is an entirely subjective and biased video. These are my thoughts, and I don't really dislike anything in that film. The opening with that car chase with Loki, totally fine with it. The fact that Thor just kind of shows up with barely an explanation, which kind of negates the whole climax of his own film, I don't care. I know, this isn't true for a lot of people. And maybe I'm a bit biased by nostalgia. Actually, that's not a maybe. I am. But this is my video, and I love the Avengers. So, Avengers, moving on. Spider-Man Homecoming versus Captain America Winter Soldier. Two pretty beloved MCU movies. Listen, the problem with these kinds of videos is that by the time I get to these later rounds, I've kind of exhausted everything I want to say about certain films. You know I love both. Winter Soldier has amazing action, Homecoming has amazing comedy, and has the best portrayal of Peter Parker I think we've ever seen, yada yada yada. If I'm just gonna pick the one that I think is the better film, Winter Soldier, the one that I also enjoyed watching the most. Also, I could be wrong, but I feel like as time goes by, Winter Soldier will still be remembered as one of the great superhero movies of all time, and Homecoming might fade a little bit. We'll see though. Anyway, yes, Winter Soldier will be fighting in the title bout. And speaking of which, here we are, the grand finale. Two movies that I'd probably, honestly, give a 10 out of 10 to. The Avengers vs. Captain America the Winter Soldier. Really, at this point, I've said almost all I could say about these movies. And to be perfectly honest, they're pretty much the same in terms of quality, for different reasons. So this all comes down to personal preference. And really, The Avengers is not just one of my favorite movies, but seeing it in the cinema was one of my favorite experiences, maybe of my life. A lot of people talk about how, oh, seeing Star Wars on the big screen, or oh, seeing Jurassic Park on the big screen. That's what made me love movies. And for me, and I think a lot of people around my age, The Avengers is that movie. Come on, I saw this movie when I was 10 years old, and it blew my mind. And I've seen it about a dozen times since, and I still love it. I guess this comes down somewhat to nostalgia, which will annoy some people, but there are a few things that can make me as nostalgic as hearing that Avengers theme song kick in while watching these heroes teaming up. Winter Soldier is fantastic, but I don't have the same connection to it. So for that, I'm gonna say The Avengers is the best superhero movie of the 2010s, surprising absolutely no one. So, that was my pick for the best superhero movie of the 2010s, at least so far. Which would yours be? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson. Check out this podcast about movies and TV and whatnot I do every other week with a friend of mine. It's called the Poorly Planned Podcast. And subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.